I'm here. Everything is gonna be alright.
She knocked at 3 a.m., terrified and trembling. 8 weeks later, her husband told me the truth. Welcome back to Ryan's Revelations. Today's story is about the kind of betrayal that wears the mask of vulnerability, about how easily trust can be weaponized by someone who knows exactly what they're doing. If you've ever wondered how far someone will go to fill the void in their marriage, stay with me. This one's going to shake you. Before we start, hit that subscribe button. These stories expose the truth people try to hide, and your support keeps them coming. Now let's dive in. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 25 and I live in a small house on the edge of a quiet suburban neighborhood. The kind where the streets are silent enough to hear crickets at night and everyone's lawn is trimmed just right. I work as a night security guard at a distribution center on the outskirts of town, pulling 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. shifts 5 days a week. It's not glamorous, checking gates, scanning monitors, walking empty lots with a flashlight, but it pays the bills and I like the solitude. The world feels different at night, like it's holding its breath, and I've always been okay with that kind of quiet. I've been on my own for a while now. My dad passed 3 years ago in a construction accident, and it hit me harder than I let anyone see. After he was gone, my mom moved to Arizona to live with her sister. We text sometimes, but it's not the same. I stayed here, in this house I bought with my savings, a small 2-bedroom with creaky floors and a porch that needs painting. It's just me, a fridge full of frozen dinners, and a routine that keeps me steady. Work, sleep, repeat. I don't mind it. Keeps things simple. This neighborhood is the kind where people wave but don't linger. Everyone knows your name but not your story. Across the street lives Natalie. She's 38, I think, though I've never asked. She moved in about 4 months ago, right after what I heard through the neighborhood gossip was a messy divorce. I don't know the details, nobody here does. She keeps to herself, always hurrying to her car with a designer handbag, her face half hidden behind oversized sunglasses. We've nodded at each other a few times, maybe said hey once or twice when we both happened to grab the mail at the same time. She's not cold, just distant, like she's built a wall and doesn't expect anyone to knock. I can't say I blame her. She's got this air about her, tall with auburn hair that's usually pulled back, and a way of moving that says she's been through enough to know better than to trust easily. I don't know much about her, but I've noticed things. The way her lights stay on late, the classical music that drifts from her window some nights, the fact that she never has visitors. It's not like I'm watching her, but when you live across the street, you see things. You notice. And maybe I noticed her a little more than I meant to. My days blur together. I sleep through most of the morning, wake up around 1 p.m., make coffee, maybe fix something around the house. I'm good with my hands, comes with growing up with a contractor dad. I've rewired outlets, patched drywall, even built a deck in my backyard. It's how I keep busy, keep the quiet from getting too loud. Nights are for work, driving to the distribution center under a sky that's all stars and no noise. I like it that way. No drama, no complications, just me and the road. That night started like any other. I got home around 4:20 a.m., bone-tired from a long shift. The center had been quiet, just a malfunctioning sensor in Warehouse B that I had to report. I kicked off my boots, tossed my keys on the counter, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and collapsed onto the couch without even bothering to change out of my uniform. Sleep was pulling me under fast, that heavy kind that comes after 8 hours on your feet. I thought I'd dream of nothing, like usual. Then it came. Sharp, desperate, cutting through the haze. A knock, not a polite tap, but frantic pounding, like someone was running out of time. I jerked awake, my heart hammering. The clock on my phone read 3:47 a.m. Nothing good happens at 3:47 a.m. The knocking came again, harder this time, uneven, like someone's fist was pleading against the wood. I stumbled off the couch, still in my work clothes, adrenaline cutting through the fog of exhaustion. I grabbed my phone, not sure why, and moved to the door, my boots still untied by the mat. The knocking stopped, then started again, softer but more urgent. I flipped on the porch light and opened the door. There she was. Natalie, my neighbor from across the street, the one I barely knew beyond a polite nod. She stood there barefoot in a thin silk robe that clung to her frame, her arms wrapped tight around herself like she was holding herself together. Her auburn hair was loose, tangled, catching the yellow porch light. Her face was pale, eyes wide and red-rimmed like she'd been crying. She was trembling, not just from the chilly night air. Before I could say anything, she stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper, shaking as much as she was. "I heard footsteps in my house," she said. "Someone's in there." "I'm scared, Ethan." My stomach dropped. I didn't know her well, but the fear in her voice was real, raw, like a wire-stripped bear. "Stay here," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "In my yard. Don't move." I turned back inside, grabbed a heavy Maglite flashlight from the kitchen drawer and a baseball bat from the hall closet, old and chipped but solid. My job had taught me to stay calm, to assess first, act second. But this wasn't a warehouse gate. This was her home, her safety. I glanced back at Natalie, still standing under my porch light, her breath visible in the cold October air. "You sure you heard someone?" I asked, needing confirmation. She nodded, her lips pressed tight. Footsteps upstairs. A door creaked. I ran out. I nodded, gripping the bat tighter. "Okay, I'll check it out. You got your phone?" She shook her head, almost frantic. I left it inside. I just ran. "Stay here," I repeated, and crossed the street to her house. Her front door was still ajar, just a sliver, enough to make my skin crawl. I pushed it open slowly, the hinges creaking in the silence. The house was dark except for a faint glow from a lamp in the living room. I clicked on my flashlight, sweeping the beam across the entryway. Everything looked normal. Shoes by the door, a coat rack, a small table with unopened mail. But the air felt wrong, heavy, like it was holding its breath. I moved forward, bat in one hand, flashlight in the other, my boots soft on the hardwood floor. "Anyone here?" I called out, my voice low but firm. No answer. Just the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. I checked the living room first. Couch, coffee table, a half-empty glass of red wine on the end table. Nothing out of place. Then the kitchen, dishes in the sink. A chair slightly askew like someone had bumped it. My pulse quickened. I moved to the back door, and there it was. The lock was scratched, the frame splintered, like someone had tried to pry it open. Not forced all the way through, but enough to leave marks. Enough to get in. My grip on the bat tightened. Whoever it was, they'd been here. Or tried to be. I climbed the stairs, each step creaking under my weight. The hallway was narrow, lined with closed doors. I checked each one. Bathroom, guest room, her bedroom. The bed was unmade, sheets tangled like she'd bolted out in a panic. A window was cracked open, letting in a draft, but no one was there. No footprints, no mess, just signs of a quick exit. Whoever it was, they were gone now. I double-checked every closet, every corner, my flashlight cutting through the shadows. Nothing. Just a house that felt violated, like it had held on to the intruder's presence even after they left. I went back outside, finding Natalie exactly where I'd left her, still clutching her robe, standing under my porch light. Her eyes locked on me, wide with hope and dread. "It's clear," I said, keeping my voice calm. "No one's in there now, but your back door's been tampered with. Looks like someone tried to get in. Her hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Oh my God, you should call the police," I said. "File a report." She shook her head quickly, almost panicked. "No, no police. Not yet. I can't. I can't deal with them right now." I frowned. "Natalie, someone tried to break into your house. You need to report this." I know, she said, her voice cracking. "But please, not tonight. I need to feel safe first." There was something in her eyes, something deeper than the fear of an intruder, something that made me not push. "Okay," I said, "but you're not staying there tonight. You can crash on my couch. I'll fix your lock in the morning." She looked at me, tears still streaming, and nodded. "Thank you, Ethan. Thank you so much." This story is brought to you by Ryan's Revelations, where deception always surfaces. That first night set everything in motion. Natalie stayed on my couch, wrapped in a blanket I gave her, clutching a cup of tea I'd made. We didn't talk much. She was too shaken, and I was too tired. But as the sun came up and I made coffee, she started opening up. "I moved here to get away," she said quietly, sitting at my kitchen table. "From the city, from my ex-husband, from everything. Rough divorce?" I asked. She nodded, staring into her mug. "You could say that. He was controlling. Made me feel small." I finally got the courage to leave, but it's been hard starting over. "I get it," I said, and I did. Starting over is never easy. Over the next few days, I became her go-to guy. I fixed her back door, installed a deadbolt, checked all her windows. She'd bring me coffee while I worked, thank me profusely, touch my arm in that way that made my heart race. "You're a lifesaver," she'd say, and I'd shrug it off, tell her it was no big deal. But it felt like a big deal. For the first time since my dad died, I felt useful, needed, seen. The visits became more frequent. She'd knock in the early evening, just as I was waking up, asking if I could help with something. A leaky faucet, a stuck window, a shelf that needed hanging. Small things that I could fix in 20 minutes, but somehow always turned into an hour of talking. She told me about her marriage, how her ex-husband, she never used his name, had been emotionally distant, always working, never there. How she'd felt invisible for years. "You make me feel safe," she said one evening, sitting on my porch steps as I replaced a loose board. I haven't felt that in a long time. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone lonely, just like me. By week 3, we'd crossed a line. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally. We'd have dinner together, she'd cook, I'd bring wine. We'd watch movies on her couch. She'd fall asleep with her head on my shoulder. The age gap, the 13 years between us, didn't seem to matter. She never made me feel young or inexperienced. She made me feel like an equal. "You're not like other guys," she said one night, her hand finding mine. "You actually care." And I did care. Maybe too much. Week 5, we kissed. It happened on her porch late at night, rain falling around us. She'd been telling me about a nightmare she had, about someone breaking in again, and I'd pulled her close, told her she was safe. And then she kissed me. It was soft at first, tentative, then deeper, more urgent. When we pulled apart, she looked at me with something I couldn't quite name. "I shouldn't have done that," she whispered. "Why not?" I asked. "Because you're young. Because you deserve better than someone with all my baggage." "I don't care about any of that," I said, and I meant it. We started sleeping together after that. Not every night, but often enough that I kept a toothbrush at her place. She'd text me before my shifts, "Be safe tonight." I'd come home in the morning to find breakfast waiting on my porch. It felt real. It felt like something I'd been missing my entire life. I should have known it was too good to be true. Ryan's Revelations reminds you, when someone's story doesn't add up, there's usually a reason. Week 8, everything changed. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was at Natalie's house, fixing her garbage disposal. She was at work, or so I thought, but she'd given me a key, told me to let myself in whenever I needed to help with something. I was under the sink, wrench in hand, when I heard it. A car pulling into the driveway, not Natalie's car. Something bigger, heavier. I crawled out from under the sink, wiping my hands on a rag, and walked to the front window. A black Lexus SUV sat in the driveway. Expensive looking. A man got out tall, maybe late 40s, wearing a business suit and carrying a leather duffel bag. He looked tired, like he'd been traveling. My stomach dropped. Before I could process what was happening, he walked straight to the front door and opened it with a key. His key. He stepped inside, dropped his bag, and froze when he saw me standing in his living room with a wrench in my hand. "Who the hell are you?" he said, his voice sharp, dangerous. I stood there, my mind racing. I'm Ethan. I'm Natalie's neighbor. I was just fixing. Her neighbor. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Let me guess. The helpful guy from across the street who has been keeping her company while I've been gone. My blood ran cold. "While you've been gone? Who are you?" "I'm Marcus," he said, his eyes narrowing. Natalie's husband. The word hit me like a freight train. Husband, not ex-husband. Husband. She said she was divorced, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Did she now? Marcus set his bag down slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. That's interesting, because we're very much still married. Have been for 15 years. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. That's not, she told me. Let me guess what she told you, Marcus interrupted, walking closer. Rough divorce. Controlling ex-husband. She moved here to escape. Am I close? I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Here's what she didn't tell you, Marcus continued, his voice cold and measured. I travel for work, oil and gas consulting. I'm gone 3, sometimes 4 months at a time. And every single time I leave, Natalie finds herself a new project. What are you talking about? You're not the first kid, he said. You're the third one in 2 years. She finds some young, lonely guy in the neighborhood, plays the damsel in distress, lets him think he's saving her. Then when I come back, she drops him like he never existed. I shook my head. You're lying. She wouldn't. Ask her about Derek, Marcus said. The college kid from 2 towns ago. Or Steven, the firefighter she latched onto when we lived in Portland. Same story. Same lies. Different guy. My mind was spinning. The break-in. Someone tried to break into her house. I saw the scratches on the door. Marcus walked to the back door, examined the frame, then looked back at me with something like pity in his eyes. You see these scratches? He pointed to the marks I'd seen that first night. I made these 3 months ago. The lock was stuck, and I was in a hurry. I scratched the hell out of the frame trying to get it open before I left for Dubai. No, I said. That's not. She was terrified that night. I'm sure she was very convincing, Marcus said. She's had practice, but let me ask you something. Did she ever call the police? File a report? Get security cameras? I thought back. Every time I'd suggested calling the cops, she'd refused. Said she wasn't ready. Said she needed time. There was never anyone in this house that night, Marcus said. Except her. Alone, lonely, looking for attention. I felt sick. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know the truth, he said. And because I want you to leave and never come back. Does she know you're here? I asked. Not yet. Came home a week early. Wanted to surprise her. He laughed bitterly. Guess I'm the one who got surprised. I set the wrench down on the counter, my hands shaking. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know she was married. I believe you, Marcus said. The young ones never do. That's why she picks them. I walked to the door, stopped, turned back. If this is true, if she's done this before, why do you stay? Marcus's jaw tightened. Because divorce is expensive. Because we have financial entanglements that make it complicated. Because somewhere under all this mess, I still remember the woman I married before she became this. He paused. But mostly? Because I'm tired of starting over too. I left without another word. I made it back to my house, shut the door, and sat on my couch in the dark. My phone buzzed almost immediately. A text from Natalie. Hey, just leaving work. Want to have dinner tonight? I'll cook. I stared at the message for a long time, thought about all the nights we'd spent together, the way she'd looked at me like I mattered, the way she'd made me feel alive for the first time in 3 years. All of it built on lies. I didn't respond. I blocked her number. 30 minutes later, she was at my door, knocking frantically. Ethan, please, I can explain. Marcus told you things, but it's not what you think. Please open the door. I sat there in the dark, listening to her plead, and didn't move. Eventually, she stopped knocking. I heard her footsteps retreat across the street. The next day, I did something I should have done weeks ago. I checked. I looked up Natalie's full name, Natalie Reeves, married name Morrison, and found her on social media. Found Marcus, too. Found photos of them together, recent ones from 8 months ago, 10 months ago, smiling at some charity event. His arm around her at a restaurant. A vacation photo from last year. No divorce, no separation. Just a marriage and a pattern. I dug deeper, found old neighborhood forums from the places they'd lived before. Found a post from 2 years ago, someone asking if anyone knew that Morrison woman who'd been getting too close to my boyfriend. Found another from Portland. Someone warning about a manipulative woman who targets younger men. It was all true. Every word Marcus had said. But I still needed to know one more thing. I waited until the next evening, then crossed the street one last time. Knocked on Natalie's door. She answered immediately, her eyes red from crying. Ethan, she breathed. Thank God. I need to explain. The break-in, I interrupted. That first night, was it real? She hesitated, just for a second. But it was enough. I heard something, she said carefully. I was scared. That's not what I asked. Was there actually someone in your house? The silence stretched between us. I was scared, she repeated. I was alone, and I was scared, and you were there. So there was no one, I said flatly. Ethan, please. I was lonely. Marcus is never here. I just needed someone to care about me. So you lied. About the divorce. About the break-in. About all of it. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I didn't lie about how I felt about you. Those feelings were real. Were they? I asked. Or was I just another project to keep you busy until your husband came home? She reached for my arm. I pulled away. Derek and Stephen, I said. Were they real too? Her face went pale. Who told you about them? Doesn't matter. What matters is you've done this before, multiple times. You target young guys, make them think they're saving you, use them until you're bored or your husband comes back, then toss them aside. It's not like that, she said, but her voice was weak. Then what's it like? Explain it to me. She looked at me, tears streaming, and I saw it. The calculation. The way she was trying to figure out which story would work, which angle would get me back. I can't lose you, she finally said. Please, Ethan, I need you. No, I said. You need someone. Anyone. I just happened to be convenient. I turned and walked away. This time she didn't follow. A week later, I saw them together. Natalie and Marcus loading suitcases into the Lexus. Leaving for somewhere, I didn't know where and didn't care. She didn't look at my house. Didn't acknowledge I existed, just like Marcus said. Dropped like I never mattered. The affair, if you could even call it that, taught me something brutal. Vulnerability can be weaponized. Someone can use your loneliness, your desire to help, your need to be needed, and turn it into a tool to manipulate you. Natalie wasn't a victim looking for safety. She was a bored, lonely woman in a broken marriage who filled the void with young men too naive to see the pattern. And I fell for it completely. 3 months later, I'm still here, still working nights, still living alone. But it's different now. I don't answer the door at 3 a.m. anymore. I don't offer to fix things for neighbors I barely know. I don't trust easily. Some nights I think about that first knock, the way Natalie looked so scared, so vulnerable, the way I felt like a hero for the first time in years. And I wonder how many other guys have that same memory, thinking they were special, thinking they mattered, not knowing they were just filling a slot in someone's pattern. I heard through a neighbor that Natalie and Marcus moved away last month. Somewhere in Texas. New city, new neighborhood, new pool of lonely young men for her to choose from. And somewhere out there, some 24-year-old kid is going to hear a knock at 3 a.m. He's going to open his door and find a beautiful woman, trembling and scared, asking for help. And he is not going to know what I know now, that some people do a knock on your door because they need saving. They knock because they need an audience for their performance. And once the show is over, they move on to the next stage. The saddest part? I still sometimes wish it had been real. That she really had needed me, that I really had mattered. But wishes don't change the truth. And the truth is, I was just another name on a list I never knew existed. A message from Ryan's Revelations. Ethan's story is a stark reminder that not all vulnerability is genuine. Natalie wasn't a victim. She was a serial manipulator who used the appearance of fear and helplessness to exploit young men's desire to be heroes. Was Ethan completely innocent? No. He ignored red flags, the refusal to call police, the vagueness about her divorce, the way everything moved so fast. But he was manipulated by someone with years of practice. Marcus? He's complicit in his own way, staying in a marriage where his wife repeatedly betrays him, enabling the pattern by not ending it. The lesson: when someone's story has too many convenient coincidences, when they refuse to take logical steps, like calling police after a break-in, when they seem to need you a little too perfectly, pay attention. Real victims don't have practice stories. Real fear doesn't come with calculated timing. And remember, if someone will manipulate with you, they're manipulating you too. Subscribe to Ryan's Revelations for more stories that expose the truth beneath the surface. Drop a comment. Should Ethan have seen the signs earlier? Is Marcus as much a victim as the men Natalie targets? New Revelations daily at 6 p.m. EST. Ryan's Revelations, where every lie eventually surfaces the end.